Two driveways. Same street. First one, a leased BMW 5 Series. Freshly washed. Parked at an angle like it's trying to get noticed. Second driveway, a 2014 Honda Civic. One small dent above the rear wheel. There's still a parking sticker on the windshield from 3 years back. And you already judged both of these guys. I know you did. Honestly, I would have too. The BMW guy, let's call him Ethan. He's the one everyone at the office talks about. Sharp dresser, nice apartment downtown, always has the newest phone before anyone else does. Walk into a room with Ethan, and people just assume he's doing well. Why wouldn't they? The Civic guy, that's David. Nobody really talks about David much. He brings lunch from home. Didn't bother upgrading his phone last year. That jacket he's wearing? 4 years old, still going strong. His co-workers crack the occasional joke. Nothing mean, really. Just classic David. Same company, same start date, same salary, $65,000 a year, both of them. 10 years later, Ethan's net worth is basically zero. David's sitting on just under $500,000. Nobody saw it coming. Because honestly, nobody was watching David. That's what this video's about. So, let's go back. Month 1. Both guys just started. Same paycheck landing every 2 weeks. Ethan makes his first big move pretty fast. He finances a car. Nothing crazy, he tells himself. Used BMW 3 Series, 42 grand, financed over 60 months. That's about $680 a month right there. Insurance? Another $220 on top. He needs to look the part. He's going places, right? Then he finds an apartment downtown. 1,200 square feet, city view, doorman and everything. $2,300 a month. Bit of a stretch, sure, but he tells himself it's an investment in himself. The address matters. The image matters. New wardrobe here and there. A few hundred, then a few hundred more. Eating out 4, 5 nights a week. Because who wants to cook after a long day? Weekend brunches. Bottle service once a month because his friends are doing it, and he's not about to be the one who says no. New iPhone every cycle too. Gotta stay connected, look professional, all that. Add it all up and Ethan's burning somewhere between $5,500 and $6,000 a month just on lifestyle. After taxes, on $65K a year, he's taking home about $4,200 a month. So he's spending more than he makes every single month. And the gap? Credit cards fill it in, just temporarily, he tells himself. Now, David. David needs a car too. Buys an 14 Civic for $8,500, cash, off a private seller. No car payment at all. Insurance runs him about $90 a month. He finds a 1-bedroom, 20 minutes outside the city center. $1,100 a month. Quiet. Nothing special. Fine. He cooks most nights. And not out of some grim self-discipline thing, he actually likes cooking. His phone works fine. He'll upgrade when it dies. He's not out every weekend, but he's not a monk either. He just isn't performing for anyone. David's total monthly spend? Around $2,300, which leaves him with roughly $1,900 every single month. And the day after payday, an automatic transfer kicks in, straight into an index fund. He doesn't think about it, doesn't touch it. Barely even checks it. So that's the setup. 2 guys, 1 paycheck each, 2 completely different games being played right from day 1. Year 2 rolls around. Ethan gets a raise, 8 grand more a year. Small promotion too. New title, a bit more responsibility. And here's where it gets interesting. Pay attention here, because this is where most people quietly go wrong without even realizing it. The second Ethan gets that raise, his lifestyle just expands to swallow it, almost automatically. Bigger apartment now, $2,700 a month. Trades in the BMW early, leases something newer, $740 a month on that. 2 vacations a year instead of 1. Nicer gym, better restaurants. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. I'd just call it a trap that never sets off an alarm. Every time his income climbs, his spending climbs right along with it. That gap between what he earns and what he spends. It never gets wider. If anything, it shrinks. His credit card balance, instead of dropping, slowly creeps up. 4 grand, 7 grand, 11 grand. But from the outside, man, Ethan looks like he's winning. People at the office talk about him. He's getting invited to the good dinners. He's visible. People assume he's sharp, on his way up, going places. And that visibility, that feeling of being seen as successful, it starts to become the whole point. David gets the same raise that year, by the way. And he changes. Nothing. Not one thing. Same $1,100 apartment. Still driving the Civic. He just bumps his monthly investment from $1,900 up to $2,400. That's it. The raise doesn't change how he looks to anyone. It changes his balance sheet. Nobody notices, obviously. Nobody's telling David he's crushing it. His coworkers are still cracking jokes about the old car. Let me stop here for a second and put actual numbers on what's happening underneath all this, because a lot of finance content gets vague right about now, or starts throwing around returns that aren't realistic. I'm using 7.5% average annual return here, slightly below the S&P 500's long-run historical average after inflation, not cherry-picked, conservative, if anything. David puts in $1,900 a month for the first 3 years, then $2,400 for the next 3, then, after another raise, around $2,800 a month. By year 5, David's investment account is sitting around $140,000. Ethan's account at year 5, he opened one, once, dropped 2 grand in during some burst of motivation, then forgot it existed. So where's Ethan's net worth at year 5, really? Car's worth about $22,000, but he still owes $19,000 on the lease. Credit card balance is hovering around $14,000. Savings account has maybe $800 in it on a good day. Total net worth, somewhere around negative $11,000. And he doesn't even know that number. He's never tracked it. He tracks his lifestyle, not his wealth. Year 6. The company hits a rough patch. 1 bad quarter turns into 2. Leadership announces a restructuring. 15% of staff gone. Ethan keeps his job, but 3 of his close coworkers don't, and the whole vibe at the office shifts. That certainty he had about the future, suddenly it's a lot shakier. He starts thinking, what if that had been me? He's got no emergency fund. 0. His monthly expenses are so bloated that even one missed paycheck would be a full-blown crisis. Do the math, and it's brutal. If Ethan lost his job tomorrow, he'd last maybe 3 weeks. And I want to be really clear about something here, because it matters. Ethan isn't an idiot. He's not irresponsible in the way people usually mean that word. He graduated, he works hard, he shows up every day. He just never once sat down and looked at the whole picture of where his money was actually going, because that picture was uncomfortable. And spending on stuff that felt good was easy. Same year, same company, same layoffs. David's fine. He's got 8 months of expenses sitting in cash, completely separate from his investments, untouched. When the layoffs hit, David's not panicking. He feels bad for his coworkers, genuinely, but he's not scared. And later that year, when the market dips and his investment account drops in value for a while, he doesn't pull a single dollar out. He puts more in, buys more shares while they're cheap. He's calm because he can actually afford to be. That kind of wealth never shows up on Instagram, by the way. I want to talk for a second about why Ethan's path is the default one, because it really is the default. Most people who end up where Ethan is didn't choose it on purpose. They just went along with a bunch of unwritten rules nobody ever questioned. There's a psychologist at Cornell, Thomas Gilovich, who studied something called the spotlight effect. Basically, people massively overestimate how much others are actually noticing them. We think everyone's clocking our clothes, our car, our apartment, registering every status signal we're putting out. But mostly, they're not. They're thinking about themselves, same as you. So Ethan's dropping thousands a month, trying to impress people who are, honestly, distracted, busy, and pretty indifferent. Not a judgment. That's just how attention actually works. Then there's this idea called expenditure cascades. Economist Robert Frank wrote about it. When the people around you visibly upgrade their lifestyle, you feel this pull to keep up, even if your paycheck hasn't budged. A coworker gets a nicer car. Your friend group starts eating at pricier places. Each little decision feels small, reasonable on its own, but add them up over years, and your whole cost of living quietly inflates without you ever really deciding to spend more. And then there's what I'd call the status trap. Spend money on visible stuff, cars, clothes, the right apartment, the right restaurants, and you get social feedback. People notice, people comment, and that feedback starts to feel like proof you're doing well. Problem is, you're optimizing for a feeling, not for actual financial reality. The BMW gets you compliments. The index fund gets you silence. But the silence, that's where the money actually is. Now let me give you something practical, because most videos skip right past this part. There's a formula from Thomas Stanley's research in The Millionaire Next Door, probably one of the most data-heavy looks at actual wealthy people ever done. And Stanley found that genuinely wealthy people look nothing like what you'd expect. Ordinary cars, normal houses, zero interest in signaling anything. The rough benchmark he used goes like this. Take your age, multiply it by your gross annual income, divide by 10. That's roughly where your net worth should be if you're actually on track. So say you're 35, making 70 grand a year. 35 times 70,000 is 2.45 million. Divide by 10. Your benchmark net worth should be around $245,000. Go ahead, run that on your own numbers right now. If you're way below that benchmark, here's the question worth sitting with. Where's your money actually going instead? For Ethan, at 33, earning 80 grand after his raises, his benchmark should be around 264,000. His actual net worth's negative. That gap right there, that's the cost of the performance. Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say this. There are real situations where how you look genuinely does matter. If you're in sales or any client-facing role, or a job where your presentation directly affects your income, your appearance is basically a tool. Spending on that is rational. A $400 suit that helps you close more deals isn't vanity. That's a return on investment, plain and simple. And if there's stuff that genuinely brings you joy, a nice dinner with people you love, travel that actually changes how you see things, a piece of furniture that makes your place feel like home, none of that's waste. Spending on things that genuinely improve your life is kind of the whole point of earning money in the first place. Going extreme with frugality, making your day-to-day miserable, that's not a strategy. That's just misery wearing a savings account. So the real question isn't, should you ever spend on yourself? Of course you should. The real question is, what percentage of your spending is actually for you, and what percentage is for an audience? Look honestly at Ethan's spending, and most of it wasn't really for him at all. The apartment he barely spent time in, the car he mostly just sat in traffic in, the clothes that impressed people at the office for about 30 seconds before everyone went right back to thinking about themselves. He was paying a premium just to maintain an image, and that image wasn't even making him happy. It just kept him in a game he thought he was supposed to be playing. Year 10. Both of them still at the company. Both got steady raises along the way, both now pulling in around $92,000 a year. So here's where they stand. Ethan's net worth at year 10. Cars depreciated, obviously. Credit card balance bouncing around 9 grand. He's got maybe 14,000 saved between a 401k he barely contributes to and a regular savings account. No investments outside of that. Net worths somewhere around 12 to 15,000 positive, depending how generous you're being with the car's value. David's investment account at year 10, with contributions climbing as his income grew, compounding the whole time at 7.5%, sits at around $478,000. Plus his emergency fund, plus zero debt. The gap between them after 10 years isn't small. It's not a little here, a little there. We're talking somewhere between $450,000 and $460,000. And I want to be precise about where that gap actually came from, because it's not that David out-earned him. They made almost identical money the whole way through. That gap came from the difference between what David spent trying to be seen and what Ethan spent trying to be seen. David spent almost nothing on being seen. Every dollar that wasn't going toward the performance went somewhere that compounded instead. Ethan conservatively spent around $280,000 over 10 years on what I'd call the appearance premium. The extra rent, the car payments, the wardrobe, eating out above what he actually needed. That money's just gone. Doesn't exist anywhere anymore. You can't point to it. It bought him a decade of looking like he was winning, while he was actually falling further and further behind. David didn't need superhuman discipline for any of this. He wasn't living on rice and self-denial. He just built one simple system and stuck to it. Step 1, he actually calculated his appearance premium, sat down and asked himself honestly, how much of what I spend is necessary and how much is basically for other people's benefit? Uncomfortable question. Probably the most important one there is, though. Step 2, he automated the investment first, not after expenses. First, before he even got the chance to spend it, it was already gone into the index fund. You can't spend money you never see hit your checking account. Step 3, he built himself a filter. Before any real purchase, one question. Am I buying this because I actually want it or because of how it makes me look? That one question alone catches maybe 70% of status spending before it even happens. Step 4, he tracked his net worth, not his lifestyle. Didn't obsess over monthly spending. Just checked his net worth number every quarter or so. And watching that number climb gave him basically the same psychological hit that a new car gave Ethan, just slower, with a completely different ending. So, let's go back to where we started. 2 driveways, same street. The BMW's still there, freshly washed, parked at that angle. Looks exactly like success is supposed to look. Ethan still gets compliments on it. Still walks into rooms and people still make assumptions about him. The Civic's still there too. Still got the dent. Still got that old sticker on the windshield. Nobody says a word about it. Nobody notices. But here's what's actually changed. David just bought a piece of land outside the city. Paid cash. He's thinking about what to build on it someday. He could quit his job tomorrow and not panic for years. He's got options now. The kind that money, quietly stacked up over time, actually buys you. Ethan? Still 2 missed paychecks from a real problem. He'll figure it out, probably. He's smart. But 10 years from now, if nothing changes, the math only gets worse. Not better. Nobody clapped for David when he skipped the lease. Nobody congratulated him for cooking at home on a random Tuesday. Nobody noticed the day his investment account quietly crossed 100,000, then 200, then pushed toward $500,000. And that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? The wealth that actually changes your life almost never shows up where people can see it. It's not parked in your driveway. It's not hanging in your closet. It doesn't show up at the restaurant table. It shows up one day as freedom, as options, as being able to say no to things that don't serve you, and yes to the things that actually do. And by then, everyone who spent all that time watching Ethan, they'll have nothing to show for the watching. So here's the question for you. Are you spending money to look like you're winning? Or are you actually building something? Because 10 years from now, that answer's going to matter a lot more than you think. If this got you thinking differently about something, hit subscribe and drop me a comment. When you look back at last month's spending, how much of it was actually for you and how much of it was for other people's perception of you? I'm genuinely curious what that number looks like once you actually sit down and work it out.